Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another round of ESA Season 9. Things are really starting to heat up now. I'm McCready. Joining me today is Delta Bacon, and we've got an exciting game coming up. It is MolotovGang going up against, if I'm not mistaken, Team Aspire, isn't it, Delta?
It is, yeah. This is a really interesting matchup. This not only because of the two teams having the journey that they've had, but also because it is the final chance for them to get through the Swiss stage. This is effectively a final chance elimination. The winner, they'll go through to the next stage. The loser, they're going home.
Yeah, and I feel like we're already starting to see some teams getting knocked out, and it's probably setting in for quite a few others that are now starting to face that elimination section. That this is where they really need to start to step things up. But we are going to take a quick minute before we do start to take a look about something that's hitting one of our community members very close to home. So a big part of our community, Glitter, has recently put a tweet out saying that they're kind of in a difficult situation and they need some help. And so what we are going to do is we are going to ask anyone that's able to, if you can see that link down below, if you're able to take a look at it, if you can give, please do. If not, just share it out. That's all we ask, because then it gets a bit more exposure and allows that family, part of the ESA family, to be helped out. And that's something that we all need to rally around, I feel like. And I think our board very much agrees that as well. We need to rally around this person in a time of need. So I feel like if you can get involved, please do.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Yeah. Yeah. No further comments.
Yeah.
Just yeah, go to the link and as McCready said, share it around. If you want to donate, you can donate. Uh, that's up to yourselves. In
Yeah.
the meantime, though, we're gonna go ahead and talk about Siege because this matchup, I'm really excited about this. You and I have watched Team Aspire before. You know, we kind of know what they're vibing with. I personally haven't watched MVG yet, apart from going back through a couple of VODs. I
Yeah.
think there's a different vibe when you watch them live, isn't there? There's so much more that you can just get from the kind of the pressure of the moment type thing. Really interesting matchup that we've got here today.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna put the stats up. Oh, no, the maps. There we go. That's my English kicking in, and let's take you through these map bands because there's some. Oh wait. Cool, smooth. They're not map bands. They are, in fact, catch predictions.
Yes, they are. And honestly, it's
We
kind of
are.
split across the board. I mean, you take a look at the talent side of thing in the board, yeah,
Strong.
it goes either way. I mean, that's why I think we're so excited about this matchup, Delta, is because it is quite balanced. Alongside the social vote, the community very much split pretty much down the middle with ourselves, with 5% either way. And I feel like this kind of sums up why we're so excited for this game, because if we just take a look at these predictions, we take a look at these team stats, Delta, we'll actually see why, because these are good teams. I've seen both of them play before. They really can step things up, and I know the stats can seem quite intimidating at first for maybe new people coming in, but that's why you're here to help break this down and understand it a bit better, Delta.
Man, I'm glad we cut to the stats because I've got red as a tomato there, so it's quite nice to be off camera for a few seconds. But yeah, no, let's dive into the stats. We've got some really interesting things to go through here. Based off the numbers, if we were to add our own predictions in, I'd have to be throwing my lot behind Molotov. I love an underdog, I love a David the Goliath story, but when you go off the statistics, I don't think you can realistically, numerically at least, back Aspire over Molotov. But let's look at the
Hmm.
KDs. We've got three players in a positive KD versus Aspire's two, and the average KD of those players, which are positive, is higher. So we've got much more fragging potential on this Molotov gang side.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like that's something, especially in the meta today, fragging potential is a really big thing. If you're not able to bring that to the table, well, you're really going to start to struggle, especially in a season like this and teams like this that really do enjoy their gunfights. They really enjoy getting up and against it. We've seen a lot of shield play in the season so far, and I feel like that's only going to continue until we do see that shield change come in the next season. Now, for the time being, I kind of want to take a look over towards the map stealth, because with the maps, I know you've kind of had a few thoughts on where we might be going, what might be the best way to go. So let's take a look.
Yeah, some really interesting picks coming out here. You can see there that Aspire they chose to pick Skyscraper. Going through the ban lists, first map, Skyscraper. Personally, not a map that I quite like to play, but I think there's a reason that Aspire are taking us there, because in Season 9, MVG have not played Skyscraper once. They've actually banned it in a couple of their games, I believe. So, what I think Aspire are doing there is they're hedging their bets. They're trying to say, do you know what? They might be weak there. Let's take a roll of the dice. Let's roll a hard six. Let's take them to Sky and let's see if we can do something. So I would imagine Aspire have probably been screwing, testing strats on Skyscraper, and preparing for this map in that way.
Yeah, no, I feel like Chalet is pretty standard. I mean, a lot of teams will start to come towards that. I think the one thing you pointed out on that was Aspire last time they were on this map were taken deep into unlimited overtime, and I think it's one of the biggest, the longest ones we've seen on this season so far. So going onto that map, I feel like that's where MolotovGang is saying, yeah, well, we they might have won it before, but we'll take them there. We'll put that pressure on them. We'll just remind them of that unpleasant game that they had. The map like CAF, well, I mean, it's CAF Dostoevsky.
It is. It is. MVG notably won their last CAF game 2-0, I think, believe it. 2-1 it was. So, they've got a history of going there. That's probably why they took it there. They probably believe it to be one of their stronger maps, which is why they left it in the rotation and took Lair out instead in that second set of bans. But yeah, no, I mean, flicking back to that Chalet, how strong are Aspire on that really? Because when they were taken to that unlimited OT, it was 12-10. Like it was an absolute mammoth match, and that was the first map of the series as well. So maybe I believe MVG they've probably looked at that. They've had a lot of rounds to watch where they can pick out and say, do you know what? That's where their strategies are on attack. That's where their strategies are on defense. It's a lot of resources to go through, comb through, and say, this is how we counter that. So this is what we can do against them here. So I think that it's a pair of really strategic map picks, and I would suspect actually that both teams have maybe played to the other team's weakness more than they've played to their own strength. But when Aspire take us over to Cafe, that's probably them just saying, right, we're going to front up, we're going to try and beat them on a map that they're strong on.
Yeah, and I feel like as we start to get closer to that game delta, I feel like Sky, this really is the side for Aspire to really just step things up, like you say. Maybe catch them off guard, maybe go in and just say, well, we know that you haven't played this map, so we're gonna see what you're made of. And as a
Yep.
result, then they go into Chalet on that upper hand. They go in a little bit more confident than you might expect them to be if they were, say, going into that Chalet first. So I feel like that might be the way to go. And as well as this, I like that a lot of teams have actually started picking attack start. You can see that the only time that's happened in this one is Chalet, but I feel like it really speaks out to the meta in general that teams are deciding to just say, yeah, we'll take the attacking side, we'll take that start, we'll get it out the way, or we'll get that advantage in first. Get a couple of rounds, you're sorted then.
Yeah, and I think, whilst it's not like a football or a rugby or not anything like that, studies have proven time and time again that sports psychology and your mentality going into a game is
Mm,
absolutely key. And for me, picking attacking start suggests that you're going to go and chase the game. You're going to go and chase the victory. When you're defending, by nature of defending in Siege, you're standing back and you're inviting the attackers to come to you. Unless you fancy a cheeky spawn peek, of course.
yeah.
But the mentality, really, I think, in Siege for a couple of years has been defense strong. Let's start on defense. Let's pick up those rounds. Whereas now it's kind of shifting. I think we're going to see teams coming through where it's almost like total football. It's total Siege. They just attack, attack, attack. And I think we'll start seeing that phase through the meta as they go through the seasons to come.
Yeah, exactly. On last map, Kaf Dostoevsky, I know I've already said before, it's Kaf. I feel like this is a map that, when you kind of look at it, as opposed to Skyscraper and Chalet, there is a thought process, there is a narrative behind those picks. I feel like Kaf being left on the board is probably just a case of, right, we tried something, it hasn't worked, we're just going to go back to what we know. And I feel like the fact that Lair was taken out quite quickly by Aspire, MolotovGang with Clubhouse and Cav, they kind of had their pick on that one. They were quite comfortable. Well, we take either of them. Lair being taken away removes that element of uncertainty, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe Aspire I think if you look into it, from a spy's perspective, maybe taking us to calf is them saying we're going to win in two, right? Maybe they're
Yeah.
backing themselves because I mean MVG have taken them there presumably because they went unlimited OT because they had to play 22 rounds in a row, which is that's just insane. That reminds me of G2 and Empire back on
Yeah.
yeah on
Coastline.
Consulate, yeah,
Yeah. That was
Coastline.
Coastline,
That was
yeah.
the one, Coastline. But it was like a 3 hour map or something like that. Maybe they're thinking, do you know what? We actually did win that in the end. We ground our result. We can still win. So let's win it in two. Let's go Sky. Let's go Chalet. We won't need to play CAF. So it'll be interesting to see if we do actually end up at CAF, how Aspire adapt to that. Because I would argue that despite being on the same matches won and matches lost, I would argue they're coming into this match as maybe a little bit of an underdog. Just because the average KD is lower, the average cost per player is lower, and they've had a couple of players who maybe haven't quite found their vibe yet. Um, Maybe that'll change today. So, pardon me. That's why you always bring water when you're talking at length. I'm just going to take you through the run so far that these two teams have had because they're both sitting on 2 wins and 2 losses. MVG to start off with, they started off with a loss. Both teams did actually. A loss to LDL and a loss to MG Wit for Aspire. They both then won, but they're coming into this match with MVG off the back of a loss against MG Wit, who maybe they would have thought that they should have won against, but Wit improved as the season went on. And Aspire coming in off the back of a victory against Yuck 141, where obviously they had to go right ahead and and play that mammoth unlimited OT.
Yeah. Now,
Um,
we
oh,
are going to be jumping to a break because it seems like we do need a bit of a breather just to get everything sorted because it seems to have a bit of an issue getting players into the lobby. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a short break and hopefully we'll be with yourselves very, very soon. Make sure you don't go anywhere. In the meantime, take a look at exclamation marks glitter. Take a look at that, see what it's about, and if you can get that shared out, this is a perfect time to do exactly that. We'll be with you very soon, so make sure you don't go anywhere.
hello and welcome back, and you've joined us at pretty much the exact right time because we're launching straight into the ban phase here, Creedy, aren't we?
Yeah. Not the stats or predictions. We're going into the ban phase, and it would have been a lot funnier if you
Mate,
saw
I'm
what
not.
happened before. Let's focus on the future. It's gonna be Grim taking out on Skyscraper, a very aggressive operator when timed correctly, isn't it?
Yeah, I really like Grim. Wasn't a particularly fan of the operator at first. I thought they had very limited utility, but
Mm,
as we've transitioned from his introduction to a very much intel focused meta, where you're looking at your lines, you're looking at your Dekebis, Grim fits into that really really nicely. Um, and yeah, they're a really powerful operator to take off the board. Blitz coming off, it's a fairly self-evident one. Shields meta,
yeah.
which is, I think is only it's being nerfed, but then also we're getting a Blackbeard shields, which I'm pretty excited about. So that remains to be seen how that'll go. But for the purposes of this game, makes sense that Blitz is getting yeeted by
Yeah.
Aspire. Sorry, by Molotov, who are also taking Valkyrie. So we're losing a lot of intel operators here.
Yeah, and I feel like a map like Skyscraper, it's quite evident. Again, so you're thinking of Grim, you're thinking of close quarter engagements, you're thinking of Blacktop Stairs, you're thinking of Geisha, Kitchen, the jump ins. Grim is someone that facilitates that in a massive way. And so does Blitz. They can get in, they can give themselves a bit of distance to get inside and start taking those gunfights on their own terms on the attacking side. On the defensive side, though, the Fenrir ban alongside that Valkyrie kind of speaks for itself because these are intel operators, like you say, Delta. With a Fenrir, it stops the intel for the attackers moving in, it slows everything down, just in the way, say, an Ella or a Yokai used to do back when they were released. So that's kind of their thought process on that. When we take that away on the attack, it makes those insertions a lot easier. Now, though, the first side we're going to head to is the karaoke tea room. This is the one that a lot of teams will typically start off on because it's very much a tier defense. It feels a lot better than sitting over in that CEO side, which can feel quite cramped and claustrophobic at times.
Yeah, it's more popular than a lot of kind of split sites that we see, because there's a lot of stuff that you can do, like really a lot of interesting combinations you can do with that central corridor, because both sides of it are soft. So you can turn it into one site if you want. You can have footholds, which we've seen a lot of teams do in this league in particular. And then it's also, as you say, it's the defense in depth, because you can hold in the hallways further out. You can engage on the other side of the map, and you can start to collapse inwards with your rovers, as well as obviously taking the vertical route and going downstairs. So it lends itself to a lot of tactical flexibility from the defender's side.
Yeah, and that's the important thing. Now, an early spawn peak, not going to find its mark from Zelu, as they will just be sat over towards that base, over towards that home stairs. They're not going to find a kill, but they are going to find themselves in a situation where they might have something later. Down at that bottom, as the attackers will have to start their roam clear. They spot the frost mats. They're aware that they need to be careful jumping in, which means that hopefully this frost isn't going to be able to find any marks at the moment. You just have to be ready for the end of that round. It's going to be Virio that's taken off at first, though, as Zelo will get that opening pick. Another frag will come through. Shimizu finds Goldies, and Carol's going to look for another one. And Tom, you said you were thinking it was going to be all Aspire. At the moment, it seems like it might be, as Carol's able to find another. It's all down to Just sat over towards this terrace side with that thermite gun in hand. Can find a kill and will be able to do that with just the one. And a very explosive start here for Aspire, as it seems like this round is over just before it began.
Yeah, that's a really rapid execute coming out from Molotov, something that I think, haven't seen a huge amount in the league. I think we see teams liking to take their time, but that was pretty instant, and Aspire had all the answers, as we see the last attacker get taken out, Casper racking up one on their tally. Really rapid round. I mean, it was essentially over by the first minute, wasn't it? Whereas we've seen rounds go particularly with Aspire, we've seen rounds go down to the last 30 seconds. So it was nice to see a round where the attack came really quickly, but then at the same time, the defenders were ready for it from the off. 4 from 4 opening picks for Aspire there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you say, it just comes down to the defenders being ready. There's nothing more you can say about that other than the defenders knew where they needed to be, what the attackers would kind of do as their plan, what their plan of attack would be, and they were just ready to get aggressive. Instead of just falling back, like we said, we found these players in positions where they can take advantage, they can poke holes in the attack. And now, well, they're going to head over to this site as a defensive setup. Now, like I said, this one's quite claustrophobic. A big thing this one relies on is that dragon and terrace area, and that bar area. For that dragon side, that really stops any pushes coming out from that top drum. And from that bar side, that's got a really good flexibility. They can peek very comfortably over towards that breach, and also keep an eye on terrace as well. So effectively shutting off those two avenues of attack the attackers and all we have.
Yeah, in contrast to the other site where it's very much a defense in depth site, this is a site where you can get attacked from just about everywhere. Now, whilst that does hold true for karaoke, it's not one where you can kind of execute from a lot of angles. You've got to commit a lot of resources. Whereas on this site, as you say, it's a lot more about having that kind of whole-scale flexibility as a team. Aspire's setting up for these rushes with a very trap-heavy meta so far, but Goldie's gonna bring that back and gonna win the opening pick really early on.
Yeah, Shimizu's going to get taken down. I feel like the attackers, MolotovGang, been shocked into preparation here. They're reacting now as that first kill isn't going to come out. But the sentry's getting taken down. The main kind of problem for MG Aspire on that one is that it's the utility. It's that secondary util taken away. In terms of actual gadgets, nothing really has been lost. That's the kind of play that you want to have on the roam. It'd just be nice to keep them around. A minute off the clock. No, attackers haven't really made any real presence. You know, that's why you can see Zelo already getting a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit nervous, starting to peek things out. Spotting the player on the rappel, but not going to be taking a gunfight just yet because that player isn't there. And just jump it out is just not the way to go. He's going to peek it. He's going to rappel in, gives the alert to Zelo that C4 might rip. There's actually going to be Carol doing a little bit of gunfights, and damage will go out in favor of the attack. Just is sat here on the breach waiting for something. They're going to be able to find it as Scripps finds Veriox. And that is 2 kills in favor of the attack. Scripps going to get downed as well in retribution. And it looks like Casper and Carol have got a big job ahead of them. As Scripps will be confirmed. That's going to be Jess falling down to the breach. Casper, beautiful shot. Before they get refragged out from barrels. Then the player from top Dragon will find that kill. And the attackers in a round that just seems so flipped from the last one. Very confident taking that kill.
Yeah, and as we saw there, it was very much a 360 defense, but the attack. They were able to envelop them really quickly. I think that opening pick from Goldies can't be overstated. That was particularly powerful. Taking Shimizu out the game, taking their secondary gadgets out of the game really early. That was very, very powerful. And from there, they had the momentum that they could just keep going and just keep going in, towards the site and start collapsing in on these Aspire players. 1-1, we'll leave it after map 2.
Yeah, like I say, it's all about that claustrophobia, because on that site, they lose that player, they're suddenly, as you've mentioned before, Delta, they're sat in a situation where they are not want to take these gunfights, they're backed into the corner, and it just gives the attackers a lot more freedom of movement that they want, and it gives them a lot more comfort when it comes to attacking the site. In terms of what we need to see change for the side of Aspire to win out that round, I think it comes down to keeping Shimizu alive, and that might be why we're seeing the mirror instead of that striker, because they can bring that gadget, they can bring down that long-lasting utility that doesn't get taken away as soon as that player dies.
Yeah, going for a very different setup here, aren't they? With the mirror, and then also committing a little further to the roam game with the Vigil, like very dedicated anti-intel, so really leaning into the bans that we've had so far. Hopefully that can come off for them, because they did lose that roam very early on last round, and that allowed Molotov to have the safety and security to push around and put their stamp on them on the round.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you can see there is a roamer around. I believe it is Casper with that boss Jacob, the one that everybody's loving at the moment, and I absolutely hate it. But they're going to be rotating off. They're not going to be taking that gunfight because they need to stay alive. They need to not give that away. That's exactly what we talked about. Single panel over towards office will be opened up. They know the roamer's there, which means there's at least 4 defenders on the site that they know of at the moment. Just taking their time. MolotovGang, they don't need to get too aggressive here, because they still have a lot of time to work with. One of those breaches is already open, so now Jess is going to just sit over towards that bar side breach. That's not going to be a problem. Now, these mirror windows, this is where the big issue and big kind of stick in the mud for the attackers is going to show up. Because you see that setup, it's got the K-Claw to back it up. It's got the K plane behind it with the C4. And that means that top dragon is going to be a difficult place to clear. Then you've also got Scripps and Shimizu over towards that terrace side. And Casper down below Delta.
And there's a fair skill comes in, a lovely C4 coming out from Carol, and the chase pieces, they're in place. Vigil ready to come back round and save the day if they so need to. And it's a much slower execute that we're seeing. I don't even think we're at the execute stage yet, you could say, because they're starting to really struggle in pushing to where they need to be. Goldie's going to pick one back, take Wamai off the board.
Yeah, exactly. Opening a line of sight, though. It's going to be Hassie finding Carol and keeping that player advantage in the attacking side. Casper down below is just going to bide their time now, hopefully waiting for a bit of information that could open things up here. But just on that breach is going to find Shimizu. And now Casper has no choice but to back them up, because Scripps cannot hold this site alone, especially not with that SMG. Casper, they know that single wall's open, they're going to swing, they're not going to find their mark, and now Scripps, they ain't going to be able to do it, but they have to try somehow. Just the Thermite able to close that round down, and maybe the defenders not wanting to go CEO side anymore, Delta.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I know you're all quite a big proponent of when we play together is, if we lose a site, we go elsewhere because we've lost it. That we need to reset the mentality. I think Aspire looked to break that cycle. They said, let's make a stand here. Let's pick the site again. Let's do it different. Let's do it better. Now, they did it better, but the result was the same. We're going to see MVG take the lead on round number 3. I think the game has slowed down, which is, I think, quite positive for the attack. They're not rushing as they did in round 1. They're using their intel gadgets a little bit more, you know, they're really droning, and they're planning their execute a lot better, whereas in round 1, it was the early pick from Aspire going on to Molotov. There was the very much rushed mentality, and I think what they've done is their IGL sat down and said, right, listen, it's the start of the game, you know, this is a marathon, not a sprint, let's slow it down, and we can pick up some rounds early. And it's gone really well for them, 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, like, you look at that first round, very, very early out the gate. And on this time, in those last 2 rounds that they lost, the defenders lost that first player, which meant that they didn't want to get aggressive. They gave that space to the attack, and that's where MolotovGang were able to open things up. Now we're going to head back to the same site of Karaoke Tea Room. In terms of how I want to see the attackers approach this, I want to see MolotovGang maybe probe a little bit more, give Aspire a little bit more room to work with. because otherwise that might happen, where Shimizu's able to find that kill and Hasi is the first to fall in this round. Now the drone works need to come through, because they need to be aware that with each of these players that they commit to this roam clear, they need to hold these flanks. They need to be thinking about that execute delta. And while yes, they might be putting pressure on Viriox, who is able to find the kill as Shimizu gets down. Gotta look at that though. That's 2 attackers off the board already, and that is the Dokkaebi and the Gridlock. Those are huge operators.
Yeah, particularly as it comes from Frost, not an operator that many people would associate with being a fragger. They're a trap operator, but they're the perfect roamers, right? Because you can put your utility down, and then you've no obligation to the site. You can go and do as you need to do. And in the hands of, a good fragger like Shimizu, you can make that weapon work for you.
Exactly. Now the attackers are going to focus on droning over towards this drum side, getting towards drag, get towards top dragon, and then they start thinking about this execute. But again, they're going to be neutered. They're going to have a lot of the spring taken out of their step here as they start to stall out. Goldies will jump in and shoot down that frost mat, and while they don't get down, there is a big thing for them. The defenders have just had that information. As they shot that frost mat, they've realized the play is there. Goldies will be looking to open up that drum side, but with the pre-fire coming out and something they're going to rotate off of, this means a fast execute's going to be needed on top dragon unless they get flanked. So with a minute left, defenders holding in place. Casper's able to find Heine, and as a result, that is going to be a 2 versus 4. 1 minute left. Goldie's able to find a kill onto Zilu. Mag's going to Justice going to rotate over towards that drum side, and if one of these players get picked off, this will be horrible. This is going to be round ending. I don't think Goldie's knows. Legion, Casper's pushed up. They're able to find the Just, and they take that case down. And now it's all down to Goldies in the 1 versus 3. Yes, they can win out this gunfight, but with 35 seconds left, it's going to be a big ask indeed. They know the players over towards that bar side. They're going to try and sneak by. The time is ticking down. Time that they do not have. 20 seconds. They don't have the case in pocket. They're going to go for that execute. It's going to be Casper who closes down that round. And the defenders will be able to pick up another round and even things out at 2-on-2.
Yeah, a couple of really big moments came out of that round. Aspire bouncing back in a really, very powerful way. Shimizu 2K on the roam. Kind of taking a couple of really key operators on that defense. I think that Dokkaebi was absolutely key to the plans for the execute from Molotov. I don't think maybe they were expecting Dokkaebi to take that fight at that time. It was an unexpected roam, which is why it was so powerful. It's the punches you don't see coming that hurt the most, right?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of put things at a disadvantage for Molotov really early on, because that was in the first minute of the round. They had 2 minutes where they made progress, they got a few kills, they took a few losses. I think at the end, the decision to split the 2 attackers, in hindsight obviously, is maybe a bit of a mistake. They could have covered each other, they could have both gone one way, but as soon as they found the kill onto the diffuser, the round was over, because Aspire can then move where they are, they can lock down the diffuser's location, and they can start to flank around and get behind the Molotov players. So that was really, really good round, not just at the start, but all over for Aspire, and a very well earned leveling up of the map.
Yeah, and we are going to return for the 3rd time here to this CEO site, and I feel like with this, so far, Delta, it's been the first kill that's got the round. I feel like it's just down to the pace that it sets. And on this one, you would have to back MolotovGang. They've got that first pick on the round. The Roamers, they haven't been as confident taking these gunfights. And as a result, they've given MolotovGang a lot of breathing room to get those picks, which is exactly what they're going to look to do right now. Zelo, though, is going to look at changing that tide. Will find that pick, and Jest will get a refrag. That's the Ash taken down as well. Goldie's a very, very big fragging power for the side of MolotovGang. You really can't deny it. Taken off already, Bacon.
Yeah, and I think this is probably going to be the most interesting round of the bunch so far, because we've not seen any one team get that early pick and take that advantage so soon. Setting up as they go around. Very slow, very patient, very methodical. I do think that they're going to miss that Ash of Goldies. Goldies has gotten a couple of big impact kills as we've gone along. But it has slowed down an element, hasn't it, Greedy?
Yeah, just a little bit, but Just is going to try and ramp things up again. Shimizu taken off the board. Now sat in a 4 versus 3 again in favor of the attack, but these Romans are still nearby, and it does mean that they have the opportunity to strike at the worst moment. The big player going to be that top dragon one. They have a line of sight over towards Barrow if they want, but at the moment their focus is going to be on T-Room. They need to hold this angle, they need to be ready to take this gunfight, and Scripps with that SMG for the Frost, while it is a good gun at range, is going to struggle towards that close quarters, but they're going to look at getting aggressive. They're going to move into T-Room, but they're not looking at the right moment, and Hassie's able to find that kill onto Scripps. Casper has rotated bomb barrel, will look for the refrag, but isn't able to find it. Things start to take their time as Aini will look for that kill, will not be able to find it. That's the case, taken down. Hassie has the refrag, those Casper probably didn't want to stand back up, did do so instead. Aspire having Vero will put us in a 2 versus 1, and now the question is, will the attackers play together or will they split apart? Nades and Gridlock Track Stingers will go out to push the defender off, but that's only going to work for so long. Carol, here's that plank goes down, realizes they're going to have to get that C4 out. It's going to happen. It doesn't find its mark. It puts Hassie onto 2 HP, but it's going to be Jess to close that down, and the attackers pick up that round again.
I'd have loved to see that C4 connect. It'd have made it a really spicy end to the round, wouldn't it? Not that it wasn't good already. But I think that's the tightest we've seen a round come to in the end. 2v1, potential to go 1v1 right at the death. Yeah, but I think maybe a bit unfortunate with Aspire, covering multiple angles, flicking off and away. And as you said, the kill came through that really opened up the full execute. Just as they flicked off, just as they looked away, and it's incredibly unlucky, but it's the way the game goes. Sometimes you need eyes in the back of your head to play Siege, don't you? So I think that's probably the best defense we've seen of CEO Museum. But if I was on the Aspire team, if I was the IGL, if I was the coach, I'd be saying, don't go there again. Let's go somewhere else. Let's try something a little bit different, because that's 3 times now they've taken MolotovGang there. And that's 3 times that MolotovGang have taken a round off them.
Yeah, 100% attacker-sided so far in this game at the moment. And I feel like you really can't understate that. And it comes down to what we said before. They've tried it, they've lost it. Twice. They've tried it again after having another round under the belt. But here's the thing, Aspire, they need this 3rd round. They cannot afford to lose it on a map like Skyscraper, which realistically, Delta, when we look at the stats, Skyscraper has actually been more defender-sided than a lot of other maps, actually. 60%. And they're struggling to break even. So this bottom floor is going to need to be the thing that changes that. They can't rely on Karaoke T-Room. A lot of verticality is going to be required from the attackers here. They haven't got a massive piece of kit, a massive couple of operators to deal with it. They do have that sentry. Oh, the striker, sorry. They do have Jess, and they do have Hassie on the gridlock. There is soft destruction there. There is lines of sight and verticality work to be done. Realistically, though, I think Goldies is going to put a lot of pressure in clearing this out with that Monty.
Yeah, first time we've seen a Monty come out today, and that surprised me because Monty, an incredibly powerful operator. You've seen them really prevalent in not only in the ESA meta, but just kind of the global Siege meta, haven't we? That's not fair.
Yeah, just...
really good entry there from MVG, looking to take the last round of the half and make it a 4-2 split. Aspire starting to answer back a little bit, but that was 3 kills in succession. You love to see those kind of executes come through so quickly. Shimizu trying to pull it back.
Yes, now the attackers do have control on top floor. Aini will get the kill onto Carol. And now as a result of that, we'll watch that Yokai drone. It's all down to Shimizu. They got a quick kill. They were nearly able to shut that down. But now they're all alone on site. They don't have any C4s in pocket. They've already used it. And they do have a bulletproof, but that is already being used. A minute 12 on the clock. The attackers have a lot of time to think about what they want to do. They have time to get some verticality done and get the droning done as well. It's the most important part of this in the 1 versus 2. In a situation they don't want to be on site, they're going to take that gunfight to main stairs, and in doing so, they are going to fall the Hassie, and that is MolotovGang taking the attacking lead at a 4-2 split on Skyscraper.
Yeah, not ideal. If you're Aspire, starting quite strongly, but I think what's killed them in that half is going to, that top CEO site, that CEO Museum area, that they're going there 3 times and losing all 3 times. That's the thing which is I think has really killed them off there. Maybe you can forgive losing kitchen dining. It's not your standard map pick, site pick, sorry. But yeah, I mean, I think to go and lose CEO offers 3 times, twice in a row, that's where the momentum has stalled. Maybe I would suggest for Aspire. MolotovGang doing really well, and they're much more methodical on that side than they were on the others. The others, it felt very much closer, and I think Aspire maybe have come into the game just not quite warmed up to the extent that Molotov were. Molotov, they were fired up, they tried to rush the first round, didn't go too well for them, but they've tuned in a lot quicker to this competitive match than Aspire. And that's key, because as we said at the start, Creedy, this is the last chance. If you lose this, you're going home.
Yeah, this is an elimination game. Like you say, the loser of this best of 3 will be knocked out of Season 9 and will not progress any further. As you can see, MolotovGang, they're feeling it at the moment. They're looking forward to it. And I feel like, on the attack, they were just kind of a little step ahead. I feel like it was just when they were able to get their aggression in, when they were able to kind of dictate the pace, that's when they really started to excel. Now on the defense, though, they're going to be expecting the attackers. They're going to be, like you say, this is where a lot of teams will prefer to play. For the reason of, this is their map. They've worked out how to defend it, because that is, in theory, the harder part of dealing with a map, is knowing how to defend it. Most importantly, of this one as well, they're going to go in with those 4 rounds in the pocket. They're going to feel quite comfortable moving forward. And right now, Kara will look at taking a gunfight with Goldies, is going to be able to win it and takes down that Goyo, taking away the Vector 8 cog. It's ball time for Einar, but in doing so, it has wasted that player, it has taken that Vector away, and now with 2 minutes on the clock, they are a player down on the side of Molotov. MG Aspire going on to the attack. We'll have to look at keeping some of that aggression. There's going to be Zelo finding Einar and taking that kill, giving another kill in favor of the attack.
Yeah, two operators that you'd love to take off the board early, which they've done, but both of them probably have already got all the utility they need down. But Monty now, they're going to be the one that drives this attack, because they're going to be the anchor around which the rest of the team will pivot. Monty draws a lot of attention with their size, with their shape, with the sound that they make by walking. Monty's a scary thing to go up against, and he's going to be what this blue player now is going to be absolutely screaming about.
Exactly, rotating over towards that T behind Chassis. This is where the Flores are going to draw them out. Gasper's able to find that kill onto Chassis, and there's a very good crossplay set up there. Verio cannot rotate over just yet, even though the plant is going down, because there's pressure over towards Geisha. They will find the kill, but they will have lost Jest. As a result, they're going to need nothing but an ace, and it's just not going to happen, as Scripps is there to hold that down, and will get the attackers around in favor. Very, very strong start for the first round. But they won the first round on defense in a very strong fashion, Delta. Are we going to see more of the same, or are they going to continue this onto their attacking side?
I honestly think that was stronger, you know. I honestly think that was stronger. That was clinical, and it was almost ruthlessly efficient. As we see a clip that's almost definitely going to get a Moss call later, eh? Lovely little wallbang. We love to see those when they happen. You hate to be on the receiving end of them. But yeah, I mean, that was absolutely clinical from Aspire, and I think, you know, this is where maybe it's setting in that they need to say, you know, if we don't win, we're done. So, you know, it's time to turn up. And they absolutely turned up in that round there. They got the early pick, they got the second pick, and it did not stop.
Again, for me, Delta, this is going to be the deciding site for me. I mean, this is the one where we've seen them really falter on the attack. So going on to the defense, I hope they've got a little bit more. I like in the Roman setup, it looks like they're going to have more of an extended hold. They're just going to make a line of sight for Einar to try and get some kills with that SMG and put it to good use. I'm interested to see how the MolotovGang are going to deal with the aggression from Aspire, if Aspire are going to bring it out in the same fashion, and how they're going to deal when things start to go wrong. What's the contingency plan? Because right now, Goldies has got a very good start to the round. Able to find that first player, takes down Scripps as well. One of those driving forces in that last round. They haven't got many kills on the board just yet, and they definitely were a big driving force. The Flores, again, will be looking to clear out a lot of these players from these very, very critical situate positions, like over towards that trophy side door, like by this single wall on those home stairs, and over towards Dragon as well. Getting rid of the utility is going to be so critical. Maverick will start with the repel over towards that single wall, which means that's why we're seeing Goldies rotate underneath. If they play in that situation, that Maverick of Zalo might not even notice that that player is over there. They might think it's clear. And as a result, that might be a free kill, but they can't take anything for granted. 2 minutes on the clock. A little bit of pre-fire from Ina will take place, but it isn't going to find its mark.
Yeah, I mean, this it's quite strange, isn't it? Because I think Aspire, I mean, naturally they're gonna know where the site is, right? But they're being extraordinarily slow, and these doors in the way as Monty getting put under pressure by the Legion there. They're being held back away from site in that extended hold for longer than I think they'd be comfortable with. Ideally, they'd like to be starting looking and have a little prod and a probe at the site now. Yeah. They're not. They're only just starting to make their way around to those doors where they'll conduct their entry. And, MolotovGang, they've done really well in pulling back. A second pick comes out. That's going to be on Zelu. And now it's all falling apart. As Monty, left alone, it's going to fall down. 4v1. Last is Monty. There's the round.
Yeah, it all just came apart at the end there. I think, like you said, they just felt too uncomfortable. Because they really let us, MolotovGang, dictate the pace of that round. And that is not something as an attacking team that you should allow to happen. But there's a Monty. They took their time. They droned things out. And MolotovGang didn't really give them anything for it. They didn't back off. They didn't wait. They had a Legion. They had a Goyim. They had a Frost. All the things that make your attackers, especially a Monty, really think twice about pushing in and where they're going to go and what they're going to do. As a result, it all just kind of stalled out. And again, they are not going to be able to pick up their first win on that secondary site. They are going to be heading back to Karaoke Tea Room, and I mean, it makes sense to me, Delta, that they're going to head back here, because this is the site that has really worked for them. I mean, MolotovGang, they got staring down match point.
Yeah, they are, and that's happened all rather quickly, hasn't it? I think it doesn't feel like we've gone the distance just yet. And it doesn't feel almost justified that Aspire, who have played well, may well be about to lose a map in the next 2 rounds. I think the big thing for me in that last round was Aspire. They took so long. There's taking your time and being methodical. There's taking your time and being clinical, as they were in round 7, where they almost aced the team. It was that was a fantastic round for them. They took the same approach there, but they took just too long, and that allowed the roamers from Molotov, playing that extended hold, falling back, and inviting Aspire into space that they hadn't cleared out. That allowed the roamers to circle back around and pressure them from a number of angles. And from there, it all fell apart. They plucked one thread, and the whole ball of wool unraveled.
And that's my main concern here, is they're so clinical, so efficient on that Karaoke Tea Room. I worry about any time we go to a site that isn't that position. Now, the Romans, there's going to be a lot of roam clear work going out. That Flores is going to be putting in a shift here to deal with a lot of these Goyo canisters and push a lot of these Romans out of those positions. But again, MolotovGang, they're kind of locking in. They're saying they don't really want to leave this situation. They want to stay there. And I know we'll be looking for the first kill in this round so far. This does mean Carol's going to rotate around, try and get a pinch, but they need to get the cam in first. Shimizu can't push in any further with that goo mine in their leg. And as a result, that Monty isn't going to be that driving factor in the attack. Goldies will try and escape, but isn't going to be able to find that kill and will rotate back into bomb. Maybe trying to bait that rotate. And it's going to be Ina, though, who will be picked off first. Goldies is looking for the swing, but it's going to be Carol waiting in the wings, finding them. And a minute and a half left on the clock. The attacker's going to start making a very solid entry into this Dragon and Tea Room side. But the problem is, Delta, again, is this going to stall things out? Are MolotovGang going to be ready? Are they going to try and run out and get these kills over towards Geisha that they might not need to take? As the Legion Goo Mines will go out even more and more, ready to try and look for these attacking plants. We're going to find out in just a minute's time how this goes down. All 5 players on the attack are ready. The impact EMPs go out. The breach gets open up. The swing does try and come out from Hassie to try and find a second kill after finding Casper, but it's not going to happen. Zalo down below will find Jest. And now a 2 versus 4. Again, we're seeing Verio trying to get these long angles to really make them work. But again, it feels like they're clutching at straws in this last 40 seconds of a round. No pressure over towards that black top. They can be flanked out. And the execute can come off the site at any point. Ferio gets taken down. Rotate will come through, but a player on Karaoke, Zello, is just going to clean house. And again, we're going to see Aspire taking Karaoke Tea Room.
Yeah, and I feel like a bit of a broken record in saying that, you know, Aspire, it's almost like Schrodinger's clinician in that in one round they'll be incredibly clinical, and in the next round they won't have that execution. It feels like the consistency maybe isn't quite there, but they're having their good moments often enough that they're keeping pace with MolotovGang. You know, MolotovGang, they could still take us to match point in the next round. You know, with a victory here, that'll put them at 6-4. They'll need the one from there. But Aspire, they're picking up the pace a little bit. And I do feel like we may well be starting to think about this match going the distance. Aspire really pushing Molotov Cocktail. Well, that's a that's a Freudian slip, isn't it?
Yeah,
MolotovGang. This really pushing them the distance. It's because he ran into bar, mate. He ran into bar and I went, oh, there's bottles on the wall. Yeah, it's cocktail o'clock, mate.
Awesome. What a thing. Anyway, moving off the felonies, we're going to take a look at this site again. Something that has felt criminal in how Aspire have been able to get away with it each round that we've seen this. MolotovGang, I feel like we're approaching that situation where I don't think I really want to see them defending this site. It's not worked out for them twice in a row. And like you say, Delta, they're in a situation where they need to start thinking about, is this even going to go, is this going to get closed down? Are they going to have to go to overtime on this one? Because remember, CEO officer only opens up in one more round. If they win this, don't win this round, they go there again, but that's 5-5. If they win that round, that locks Delta. So yes, they're on match point, but then they need to decide, karaoke tea room or kitchen dining. A very, very big ask of them at the moment. They really need to win this round if they want to get this round closed before overtime, in my opinion. Again, the attackers are going to start out with this lethally methodical droning. Going in, get that Q mine out, jump out the building to do it. And as the roamers will start to apply that pressure, nobody's going to be taken off the board just yet. The attackers kind of getting a feel for things.
Yeah, I mean, I think quite notably, you know, Monty, I think, being the pivot around the rest of the team is going to maneuver, you know, be an anvil for the rest of the team to be a hammer. It's quite notable that Monty didn't make it into the building until the minute was already on the clock.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you can actually see Goldies going down below with that C4 in pocket, might be able to make something happen, especially in a late round situation. It's the first time in quite a while we've seen Goldies actually survive this far into the round, of this site at least. Hassie again playing over towards top drums will be looking to slow everything down now. This is a much better position for the side of MolotovGang, because yes, they've just got a kill and taken down scripts, but they've got more players alive than they normally do in this situation, and that 5v4 as it stands might just change. A swing coming out over towards Terrace, and Malusi Banshee will go off, alerting the defenders that Monty is playing there. And as the util starts to go off, pressure will be applied, but it isn't enough to force Shimizu off. The information's being given. It's going to be Goldie, so finding Zelu. And as the swing comes out, they're going to try and get a crossfire. Jess will find Casper. Carol is all on their own. As Shimizu's going to fall as well. It's all down to the ace. Hasty heard me when I said they need to win this round. They really wanted to deliver. We are going to be heading to that CEO on our side next. And a much, much needed round, Delta.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Aspire, that again, it's one of those where one thread gets pulled, the rest of the team will fall in quick succession. And it's quite an interesting one where when it goes well for them, like they're executing incredibly well, but it feels like, you know, if their plan doesn't survive first contact with the enemy, then it really doesn't. And the one thing I've got to point back to with that being again is some really strong individual play coming out from MolotovGang, but then Aspire being a little too slow, partially through their own like movement, partially through the really strong use of Legion mines to force these attackers who are entering on the far side of the building to jump back out, take a couple of seconds. It gives you audio cues, it allows the defenders to make an educated decision whether to push and, you know, try and enforce, kind of, you know, be a bit of a bouncer that you can't come in here, sir, or whether to pull back and, you know, invite the attackers in.
Yeah, no. I feel like we've only seen these two sides, and that's because we have, Delta. Only one round of kitchen dining. And I feel like we've spoken a lot about this site. We're seeing kind of variations of the same setup. I feel like just bringing this mirror, it's something that you can't not bring, really. What you're going to see right now is Aina, I believe. Yeah, Aina, sorry. Is going to be opening up that dragon side. And what's going to happen is the defender's going to play in that position. They might have a Zazami, they might have a shield to play behind, or they might be a Legion. They're going to hold that position. They're going to rotate off when they need to. And go through and play on that mirror window. But right now, Carol's not going to have an opportunity to do anything. This goal is going to get a free pick away. The pulse going blissfully unheard of down on that bottom floor. And yes, Zello, sorry, is there to try and deal with it. But Goldie's just going to get away. They're just going straight back to side. They're not going to worry about that anymore. And now, Fortress CEO is seeming a lot stronger now than they did 20 seconds ago.
I really like that Fortress CEO. You're gonna have to copyright that, mate.
Might have to,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, you're not wrong. You know, Fortress CEO, for MVG, it's been like their go-to side, both attack and defense. You know, they've done really well on it both times. That early pick coming out, particularly with it being on a thermite, that's going to be very impactful. And once again, we're seeing Aspire really take their time.
Yeah, and right now, time is the one thing that is not in favor of Aspire. Like, you see Hassie in that situation behind that shield. Once that shield goes, they're through the rotate, and they're on the mirror window. Goldies is there to help things out. They'll drop down a little bit, try and deal with Shimizu, because they're aware of the Buck down below. And Buck's job here is to force out Hassie. That's what's going to combine with Zello here to try and deal with this position. Flores Jones going to do the trick, but like you see, that player's already gone. They've rotated off. Shimizu will find Goldies, but Hassie is there with an answer very quickly. Now a 3 versus 4. That Mirror is still alive, given that information as Zello looks to try and push forward, but the defenders are just going to retake the ground. The C4 goes out. Hassie finds 1, finds 2. The C4 finds none, but as Aina will fall, it is all down to Scripps here, and they are walking all the way back up to that dragon. They have not got the case in hand. They have not got time on their favor, and they have got to peek Just, who's going to close that down. And that is going to be our first map in favor of MolotovGang.
Yeah, MVG takes Sky in what was, I think, not a dominant performance, but absolutely a really strong one. I mean, there's some really big names to call out there. Hassie, incredible play on the gunplay. You know, not the entry frags, but, you know, I mean, just with raw gunfighting ability, and not just hitting heads, not just, you know, picking up the frags that they need to, but also Hassie was playing Legion quite a lot. So when I talked about Legion mines holding up the Aspire attack, that was Hassie. Yeah. You saw in that last round, you know, Monty unable to push because Hassie perched on a Myra shield and a Myra window and then also a deployable shield. Hassie. You know, so I think what they added was a real kind of all-round ability to holding, but then also you match that with just really good gunplay. Goldie's having really good fun on the kind of entry front, picking up a lot of first picks. And I think there was only one round there, actually, which was not by the first pick, which was round 5. All the others, the first pick was a really good bellwether indicator as to how the rest of the round would progress.
Yeah, and impressively, it's the site as well. I mean, I don't know what happened. MolotovGang cannot handle Karaoke Tea Room, and Aspire cannot handle CEO. So, you know, for whichever team goes forward, there's a lot of work to be done, and whichever team doesn't, well, there's still a lot of work to be done for Season 10, but we're not done just yet. Neither team is knocked out at the moment, Delta. We are going to be taking a short break before we do look at heading on to our second map, which is going to be Chalet. So make sure, if you are here right now, take a look at our Twitter, take a look at our Discord, take a look at !Glitter and see what that's all about. And if you can, please help out. Most importantly, we'll be back soon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are 1 map down, possibly 2 to go, but if MolotovGang were able to bring it back like they did in that first map on any site other than Karaoke Tea Room, we should be alright on this one. Delta, Skyscraper, give us a quick brief rundown how that went.
yeah, I mean, it was one of those strange ones where it's both really very competitive, and I think maybe the end score doesn't quite match how competitive it was. It was decided by some very thin margins in the end,
Mm.
but it did go 7-4 in favor of Molotov with some really strong defensive play. Hassi fragging out of their brain and doing some really cool, interesting stuff. Goldies with some really big entry frags, and Aspire unfortunately not being able to rise to the occasion and counter those things either by moving faster or by hitting heads more. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those games where it was decided in the end by one or two players just really stepping up and playing really good Siege. But that's done. That's in the past now. Now we're going to go
Yeah.
to Chalet, where Aspire last time round were taking unlimited OT 12-10. They took the map and they eventually took the game, but it was a long slog for them. And I think the prevailing theory that we've got is that MVG have seen that and gone, yeah, we can take that. We can take that off them.
Yes, because Delta, remind me, whose map pick is this?
This is MVG's map pick. So, they've probably
And
watched this. They've got 22
yeah,
rounds worth of detail to look at and say, do you know what? We can plan around what's happened here.
yeah, and
Um,
not only that, when you looked at the overlay at the very top, Delta, that bar was on Team MolotovGang. So MolotovGang, like you say, they've got that information. They've got all those rounds to work with. They can really, really, if they put the effort in, knowing that this matchup was going to be theirs, they can really open things up for themselves and drive it home. A map like Chalet, if you go in there, you kind of know what you're doing. It's a map that they are going to be strong at the defense, I believe, and that's not the end of the world. I mean, it's a 40% defender-sided map, so I mean, they get it out the way. Well, for the side of Aspire, they need to have a very strong attacking side. They need to get these rounds off very early on, and they need to show that they can play and show why they deserve, if not to win it, to at least get another unlimited overtime game going.
Absolutely. So it's all to play for both teams. Molotov have their snouts in front. Whilst we work to get the players back into the lobby after we saw a couple of disconnects and reconnects there, it's probably important to mention actually that today we are supporting a great supporter of the ESA Cup who's going through a little bit of a tough time. The details, you can access them in the chat by popping in !glitter. Follow the link in the chat and the details will be there. Any support you can give, be that a share, telling your friends, or digging deep, that'll be appreciated, and we thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and for all those that have helped out so far in any of those ways or any other ways that we might not know of, thank you very much. We really do appreciate it, and I think it comes from straight from the top of ESA as well, because wanting to help out has come from them, and because it's such a key part of our community, this person, we want to do our best for them. So that's why we are asking if anyone could help. Please do.
Absolutely. So, as we move into Chalet, obviously we've got all the details about how the last time Aspire went to this map went down. MVG they'll stratted out this. Tell me, I mean, you've played significantly more comp than me by virtue of having played comp. How do you approach this? You go into a map where maybe you've not had a lot of success before. Maybe you've struggled on it. How do you approach this, knowing that the other team are taking you there?
You focus on the good things. You focus on where your strengths are, and that's the kind of approach mentality wise you want to bring in. Yes, you're gonna have in the back of your mind where your mistakes are. So, okay, well, we had issues here. These weren't our sites. We need to make sure that we are locked in on this one. But at the end of the day, the underlying thing you need to make sure remember the good as well as the bad. If you're able to do that, then you go in with a more healthy idea of how you're going to play out. The last time I've actually seen Chalet, it ended up in a forfeit, so I'm hoping we don't see that again. But for the time being, we are going to be seeing another break before we get in, because it feels like tradition at this point, Delta. We can't just go straight into a game. We've got to take a short break, so we'll be right back. Interesting, interesting intermission from our end there, but you know what? We won't worry about that. We'll take a look at Chalet Delta because the bands are where it's going to be at. We saw, we saw the Blitz be taken off the board and the Grim. We're going to see at least one of those operators making it through on this one as Brava's taken away. And I want to think about the kind of utility denial that takes away. It wasn't an operator that was used massively on Skyscraper, sorry. But I feel like it's an operator that on Chalet would have a lot more impact, especially thinking about that bottom floor.
Yeah, I mean, really interesting pick there. Because we didn't see Bravo get played really at all in the last round. So I think my assumption there was that maybe they try not to include Bravo in their comp. But I mean, yeah, so, you know, Aspire have seen fit to remove Bravo, so maybe they've seen something in MVG's past games. Blitz, we don't need to go any further into that. It's been removed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Blitz. That makes sense. That checks. And then we'll also see the Azami come out as well. Azami being used quite effectively actually by Molotov last round. So it's interesting to see them take that off. Maybe they've seen Aspire's play from last week where they went to that max OT, you know, that really extended unlimited OT, and they saw a lot of Azami play. And then Clash being taken off as well. Which I think doesn't quite fit as well into the shield meta that we've got. You know, there's no sprinting and shield, but you know, you cannot be as fast, and you're more inviting players onto you and being a bit of a deterrent than anything else, than being an aggressive operator. But still, shield operators being taken down left, right, and center. But critically, my favorite still on the border, really. Monty, still there.
Yeah, we can see Monty now. Blitz, he's been banned now, like you say. Blitz invites a very aggressive playstyle. Monty is a lot more methodical, a lot more cleaner, and just one that, like we saw from Aspire on the attack last time, just a lot more thought out. The side of having a zombie banned off, I think that's MolotovGang being on the attack. They don't want to deal with that, whereas on Skyscraper being on the defense first, they were alright with letting it through. And I think with Clash, it's got to top that off. It's just the passive damage. It's the fact that she has the ability to get aggressive with a race, a relatively quick shield swap time, and then that possible SMG as well that we can bring out. Right now, though, the defenders are going to focus on this top floor, even though the site is down below. This is what I love about verticality when it's done properly. It's a top floor hold until the last 30 seconds if done properly, Telfer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're gonna, you know, and we're seeing that being reflected in the operator choices. A lot of things where you can see the site, but you don't have to be on the site. You know, we're seeing things like the Maestro cams coming through, the trap operators slowing them down. It is going to be very much a defense in depth kind of hold coming out from Aspire.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they take control of that top floor, they hold it, and then when things start to go wrong, they just fall back off, and those 30 seconds tick down. Then they can worry, and then it's just look up. Right now, very aggressively positioned is Carol. Going to be looking for a kill onto either Goldies or Hassie. Not able to find it just yet, as this round will start to get into that 1 minute mark off the clock. Now, here's the thing, the Roamers. Maybe going to get a little bit aggressive. It will be Zelo being spotted down below, which means Hassie's going to be aware of this. The attackers, no real pressure has been started aside from these Flores drones.
Yeah, it's a bit of a slow one, isn't it? We're seeing Molotov again falling back to that very slow, methodical pacing here, and not quite get those early picks. So remember, only one round last game, last map. Did the first pick not decide the round, and Goldies, they'll pick up another entry kill, pick up the first round, and a second kill for Goldies.
Yes, and they're going to find a third as well. As they really start to open things up, getting Goldies on the Ash. That's the operator you always want to see him on, if not that Goyo. And now it's all down to Zelo and Shibisu. Now they pulled back. They're holding this solar side. And there's a Maestro and a Yokai. These are two really good operators as they able to stop down this reign of terror from Goldies. As Shibisu and Zelo will each get a kill of their own. But Aina will find another one. It's all down to Shibisu with the Alder down below. And again, that Alder, it can really put a hurting on them. Finding a second kill will confirm the kill to Jess. But now two players. One of them has Vert, one down below. The rest of the team are going to focus on these evil eyes, get that information. The frag grenades go out and not able to find a kill. Variox will put us on for the first round in favor of the attacking side of MolotovGang.
Yeah, Shimizu bringing back a little bit of hope, but no joy. And I mean, they were just forming a queue, weren't they? They were very
Yeah.
British about it all. Form an orderly queue just for Goldies to pick 3 headshots out of nowhere. And that's how you want to start. You want to set the pace like that, don't you?
You know, that's quite hospitable of them, Delta, because when you actually look at it, well, MolotovGang are German, Aspire are kind of mainly German Polish, so I feel like that's quite nice, just to represent, make us feel like we're at home. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, they did, and more than that, they made Molotov at home as they let them into the site extremely quickly and didn't really offer that much in the way of resistance. Very slow, methodical approach from from Molotov coming out there, and then as soon as Goldies tugged at the thread, once more, Spire were unravelled. 1-0 to MolotovGang, as we see Spire starting to set up same site. So they're doing this again, where they go to the same site again. They try and do it a little bit different. Let's see if that works out for them.
I feel like as we go to this same site again, I feel like Goldies is going to really get a reputation as like the Microsoft Paint operator. You know when you draw a little design with your mouse and you try and use the fill command, but you've left one little gap, one little pixel that just isn't perfect, and then all the color escapes everywhere. That's essentially Goldies. They will find that one little pixel and just explode onto the rest of site. Now, very quick entry into that main lobby. They're going to start opening up these lines of sight into Dying to Hoy to really shut down some roamers. And they've got the Flores already getting to work with these cameras, taking out at least one Maestro camera. And the Claymore Goldies will kickstart their round of frags so far. As we will also see Scripps using using at least one of those dock stims to bring them back to that full HP. A minute off the clock already, Delta, and it feels like a good start for the attack.
Yeah, absolutely. Goldies, another first pick. They weren't the highest fragger last game, but they got so many first picks that they really set the pace of the Molotov team, MolotovGang going forwards. Really, really powerful stuff coming out from Goldies today.
Exactly. Now, as time is starting to just kind of get even, just kind of leveled out a little bit, the attackers are going to have to start to get this momentum back underway, start bringing this round back to where they want it to be, in the palm of their hands. Now, the pixel here, Jess is going to try and contest, probably shouldn't be, but it is going to be the defender now, not actually taking that gunfight, and Zello moves off, will allow the opportunity for this to be contested. The attackers, looks like they might be having a little bit more pressure over towards Mass Main, as Scripps is able to find Verio, and can really just execute on the site and just explode again. If things start to open up, if they can isolate these top floor defenders, that can really be something for them. And as time ticks, with a minute left on the clock, this is quite even here on Aspire. With time, they're only going to get stronger.
Yeah, Aspire have done well to bounce back and not kind of, I don't want to say fall apart, that's quite disparaging, but they've done really well to maintain their team cohesion and push through to this end part of the round with 4 operators still on the board. They've done really well, but as that timer ticks down, the round will start slowly coming back to their side, coming back in their favour, as the timer becomes an extra defender in sense.
Yeah, so that breach is being opened up. The reason for that is because it's now not a vault breach. That means they can walk in, gun up, and hopefully take the gunfight. But with Zello and the TCSG on the swing, that's just not going to happen. As we will see things even out to a 3 versus 3. Just able to find one, but Casper easily there to get that advantage back firmly in their pocket of the defense. And time ticks down. The push comes through. Jess is able to find a kill, but the refrag onto Goldies is there. Jess has to try and get this blind down, but 3 seconds left. They don't have the case, the sight, or the time. While they will find Zello, they won't find a round win. And that's going to be MG Aspire taking that kitchen dining site.
Yeah, so I mean, getting over the bugbear that they had back on Skyscraper, where they would just continually lose CEO Museum. They hit the same site again. They didn't actually change what they were doing all that much, but they actually come back out of it having overturned what MolotovGang threw at them. MolotovGang, by choosing attacker first, we discussed this briefly at the start of the series. They're choosing to go and chase the game. They're a map up. This is the series where if they win, they're through to the next stage. If they lose, they're out of the competition. They're choosing to be aggressive in their strategy. They're not being aggressive tactically. They're taking their time and they're standing off. They're picking the shots out, and they're really letting Goldies do what they do to then affect the rest of the round. Whereas Aspire, they're more... Again, it's not quite that kind of consistency. It's not quite that kind of cold execution that we're seeing, but they're having individually, all of them, quite good moments, and they're plucking rounds out of the fire as they go. So, as I said, the scoreline last map, it didn't reflect the quality of the gameplay. 7-4, but it was much more even, much more close than that. I'll be interested to see if Aspire can still push MolotovGang the distance.
Yeah, now with this site, you're seeing a lot of focus towards this bottom floor from the defensive setup, and that's for a very simple reason, because if the defenders can get inside that basement, get control of that main stairs, get a Maverick Wall line of sight made up, well, that isn't an operator the attackers have on the board, it's something the defenders need to be ready for. If they get down below and get quick control, that allows them to rotate around very quickly, start pressuring over towards that blue stairs, over towards that main stairs, and realistically do exactly this, but on that bottom floor once you start to move up. Shibizu will be taken down on the very first pick in this round. The roam clear will still need to take place, but they need to be aware that the defenders are going to be expecting this. This is the kind of standard attack that you expect to see. And now Piano Hallway, that's going to be the big thing for them to clear Delta.
Yeah, although step 1 achieved, get that first pick. It's a really clear sign of how the rest of the round will go. But the job isn't done yet, as you say.
Exactly. The wall will open up, the Flores drones will try and find their mark, and the Ash Chargers will try and clear out that CEO. But in doing so, this means that the defenders have a lot of time to adjust, a lot of time to rotate, and Goldies will be able to... So at least making it a good situation as Hasty's able to find a second kill, taking down Casper. Pressure over towards Library means that top floor's hold is going to be in their firm favor, and the Oryx off the board means they don't need to worry about these hatches now. Carol's going to get taken down, but we will see Scripts on the blue stairs able to find Goldies. We'll have to find another. Finds the head of Xerox. A beautiful flick, but it isn't enough as Jess closes that down. The attackers will continue to lead in Chalet.
That was really lovely. I really enjoyed the play that we saw up on that top floor there. We saw, we saw Hassie and Just combining really wonderfully by using their utility together, as well as with the Ace, to just kind of overwhelm that top floor and almost put on a kind of show of force. We saw the Ace charge go off, and then at the same time we saw the Flores drone fly through the breach, and we also saw the Nomad peak. 2 flashes and a charge to cut off that blue stairs, completely isolating that top floor from any potential to roam back downstairs. All they could do then was drop hatch. I didn't actually see if hatch had been off runs or not, so that's one thing to think about, or push around through Library. Neither of which were really possible because of the sheer aggression that came out. And this is where I say that MVG are being incredibly clinical in how they approach these rounds. They're being very tactical. Whilst they've not been quick to do their attackers setup, when the attacking setup is done, once they've made the holes they need to make, once they've droned what they need to drone, the execute is incredibly quick. And it's that pace of play that I don't think Aspire can quite match when we're in that very volatile mid-round period.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like a lot of the rounds that we've seen in going in favor of Aspire has been when they're able to shut down MolotovGang early on. Like you say, the big telltale sign of who's going to win a round has been that opening pick. The question is here, is that going to be something that Aspire are ready for? Are they going to show that adaptation they need to win this round? Or is this going to be another one for MolotovGang? So they're going to start off with that roam clear again, Delta. They're going to make sure they deal with this piano, make sure they deal with CEO, and then they're going to start moving over towards that top floor. The big thing for me, I like to see the Caspers come off that Oryx. We didn't see a big impact on the Oryx. They've instead gone onto the Fenrir, an operator that will have a lot of utility when it comes to these big choke points. For example, that piano hallway. For example, that blue stairs. These are the positions in which those Fenrir gadgets are going to have the most impact because it allows a defender to really take control of a situation, and it can turn that tide. Especially as the attack is going to be ready for it. Well, they're going to be ready for Shibisu, and that first pick comes out the way. Again, the Frost making the attackers aware they need to be careful when they drop down below through a window.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's all well and good making them aware. That's the second time Shimizu has fallen to being the first pick. in this map. They were roaming really effectively as Frost last map, but this map, Hassi, has really got them locked down. And again, we see that woolen ball of Aspire start unraveling after the first pick as another kill, and another one come rolling through.
Yes, now Hassi and Zella will go down. Zella will get taken down, and we'll see Goldie's fall as well. But Zayna will find a kill. It is going to get closed down in a very, very explosive last 20 seconds, Tom. Because like you say, it comes down, once that setup is done, once MolotovGang are in a position where they're confident for that attack comes through, and it does not miss, as long as they've got all the pieces in play. A big thing for me, again, like you say, we're seeing these players getting picked off quickly, and I feel like MolotovGang are starting to get a little bit too many isolated kills when they're doing a lot of this roam killing. They're doing a lot of this roaming. Because that's when Aspire, when it comes down to those last 20 seconds, aren't able to refrag because the person that would is lying halfway across the map dead in piano.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right with the with those kills, which are happening really far away with no real chance of a refrag or a trade or anything like that. It's happening so far away that it just puts you at a disadvantage, and there's no real advantage to be gained because they're happening so early. You can't even say that time has been taken away from the attackers. So yeah, you're completely 100% there. Tell me, you're 3-1 down, okay? You're in what is effectively, you know, let's call it series point, because if they lose this map, that's it, they're gone. What? Talk me through the mentality. How do you pick up this Aspire team? Name notwithstanding.
It's an attacker-sided map, guys. Which the stats do back. Actually, just have to have a look at it. The stats do back. It is attacker-sided. Right now, Goldies is going to find that opening kill. Hassi has a quick follow. These two players really opening things up. But the big thing is the momentum's there. Aspire don't seem ready. Like you said in that very first round of Skyscraper, they didn't seem ready to deal with the MolotovGang. And that's something I feel like we're seeing again. They're not feeling ready for these early gunfights. They're not feeling confident when they come. And in this situation, they're just trying to bring things back. The cave floor has got messed up, which means that that wall is going to open up on main breach. And that is horrible. They don't have that comfort to get it right. They're feeling a little bit tilted. And Hassi's going to be able to find scripts. The revolver does come out. The Magnum. They're going to try and find a kill to keep them in it, but they can reload the TCSG. But in doing so, the rest of the site's fallen apart. And Virio will clean house. Get your darning again going in favor of MolotovGang. And that is going to be another round in their back pocket. In Delta, it's starting to stack up. And I feel like going to Chalet might have been the mental play they needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Aspire, you know, it wasn't their choice to come to this map, and I would suggest that having seen what's happening on on the screen in front of us, seeing what's happening, I would imagine that they wanted anything but this map. They had every chance to ban it out, right? They did have every chance to ban it out. But MVG, I think what we're seeing here is just that wealth of, you know, resource to draw out what Aspire do on these maps, draw out how they play. That wealth of knowledge coming from that infinite OT, having watched back the VOD, I think that's paying dividends for them. All of this is happening because of, I would imagine, the preparation from Molotov. And that is also the 5th time in 5 rounds that Molotov have had the first pick, be that from Goldies, be that from Hassi times. And that shows you, it kind of backs up what you were saying last round, doesn't it? Where the first kill, it's always happening very far away from sight. Aspire don't have the capability there. As a result,
oh no,
the spawn peak. No, you can't. Oh, that's maybe a bit of desperation, I would suggest, coming into the play. And once again, that first kill goes unanswered.
And not just across the map, outside of the building. Shibizu, this is an operator we need to see starting to step things up frag-wise, because they have an opportunity, they have a lot of stopping power to bring things back, Delta. But realistically, they're not finding their mark, they're not finding their targets, and they're leaving their team to do exactly what they've just done, and that's playing catch-up. Yes, Goldie's been taken down, but with Hassi and Goldies both popping off at the moment, for MolotovGang, that feels a lot more comfortable in terms of fragging potential. Now, we will see a bit more pressure over this top floor. Actually, the first time we're going to see this top floor be that site. Or actually, the second, I believe, maybe. Doesn't matter. What does matter right now is that the attackers are going to get this breach open. The defenders, they have a good position. They have time to work with, but that's suddenly going to be turned on its head. Carroll, unable to find a single kill this game, will be unable to find another one as Jess is able to get that kill. A bit more damage goes out onto Verio, but isn't going to find its mark just yet. And as drones go out, the attackers are looking poised to get this assault going in. Scripps will be able to find a kill, however, Hassie has an answer with a frag grenade. The swing comes out from Piano Hallway. A third kill for Hassie. They're just going to run in through the Goyle, through the Fenrir. They're just going to look for the plant because they know that last player is going to be down below as the C4 goes out. Doesn't find its mark, and they don't know. Zello does not know that that player's just walked up those west stairs. Gonna rotate over towards blue. And then 1 versus 3, time ticking down. Verio's going to push them down. And that is a dominating attacking side for the side of MolotovGang. Going on to the defense, going to feel very comfortable. But the problem is, Delta, we need to make sure that they don't fall into that same trap they did in that last map. They start to hemorrhage rounds a little bit.
They did, but I think the key thing is, you know, they did see it out. They saw it out convincingly at 7-4. You know, they still took more rounds on their half, on their defensive half than Aspire did. And I would suggest maybe that Aspire, that they need to find somewhere. They need to find the rounds from somewhere. They need to find something big to respond, because I think this is where the mentality of the team is going to be really tested. This is where, you know, you're going to be thinking, okay, we've lost a lot of kind of soft kills where we shouldn't have. We're losing rounds where we shouldn't have. We've played this map a lot in the last week.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be losing this badly. So they need to respond in some way, and it's got to be big, and it's got to change the outcome of the game. Because at the moment, they've lost 4 in a row. You know, the momentum is very much against them. The statistics suggest that Molotov are going to win anyway. More fraggers, they're picking up all the entry kills, they're picking up all the first picks. Everything is coming up Molotov. What have Aspire got in the chamber to try and fire back with?
I can only agree with you, Delta. The map pick was definitely well thought out from Molotov, because they realized the mentality of Aspire, while, like I say, we want to look at the good things, we want to look at the good starts they've had, it just hasn't been there. I mean, they're going to have in their head that they've just lost. They've just had that infinite OT game. And right now, what we will see Aspire be able to pick up 1 kill, that is only after losing 2 players, and that player will get refranked as well. That top floor, that defensive site again, will be held by 4 defenders against 2 attackers. 0 in Flores, and really good utility clearance. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, look at the situation they're in. They don't have control of that bomb. They don't have any real map control, because anyone that stepped into a building just got cleaned out. I mean, we didn't talk about it, but Hassie had a beautiful flick from that mezzanine side over towards that main lobby. There's no real avenue onto site here that I think Aspire might just need to take this round and just see what happens when they throw it against the wall, because they don't have time to sit here and talk about what went wrong, Delta, because this is crunch time.
Yeah, you're 2 rounds away from going home. You know, no prizes. This is the moment where you maybe they're starting to think about taking a second. We're going to see the entry come through there. They're starting to take map control, but they don't have the equipment that they need to affect breaches. It's just gunplay.
And the thing is, these gadgets that both Zero and Flores have, it takes a player off of their guns. We will see Shimizu able to find a kill, but to get the most out of this utility, they need to go off the cameras. 3 Flores drones in hand is great when you have somebody covering you. When that player is over towards that dining hallway looking to execute on site with that opener from the Flores, that situation completely upends. It doesn't feel good. You don't feel confident. And now, as that comes through, they're going to have to drone themselves. The Flores drone will start to try and push out this player. But you see all this utility. The Gorush canisters are going to waste it even more as well. Verio will be looking for that first gunfight upstairs. Will not find their mark, but they don't need to. Because look, they push Casper off. With 30 seconds left on the clock, the defenders in firm control on that verticality. And the plant nowhere yet to go down. It's not even in the hands of any attackers. Aino will be taking down Shimizu. And now it's all down to Casper to stave off that seemingly inevitable match point. Going towards those footholds has to be aware there must be a player on the rotate. The 1 versus 3, it's all coming up. MolotovGang as time ticks down. The Goyo canisters go through. The shotgun swing comes out. And we find ourselves on elimination point, Delta, for the side of MG Aspire.
Yeah, it's almost not enjoyable, is it? It's almost kind of cruel that Aspire played so well last game, and they've been brought to Chalet, and they're being very comprehensively beaten here, and it's at stages difficult to watch. I think I think we didn't make enough of Goldies just playing a bit of an ambush game, like a rattlesnake whose tail got stepped on.
Yeah.
Hiding under that window, the double window in library. I quite enjoyed that. They just scampered away after picked up the first kill. The 7th first kill that MVG have had so far this map out of 7 rounds. And yeah, I mean it's just there's just not quite the whole 360-degree push coming out from Aspire that we saw from MVG. When MVG executed, took their time, they maybe got their first picks, but they were very slow, they were very methodical, they did their droning. They're now taking the fight to Aspire in a way that echoes last map, where we saw Aspire a bit more standoffish. MolotovGang, they're fighting them at every step of the building, they're making them work for their map control, and there's just not an answer so far. Hopefully Aspire can pick up a round, hopefully we can get a few more minutes in chatting with each other about this lovely game of ours, but at the moment, as you say, the momentum's entirely in MolotovGang's favour.
Yeah, and any chance of a reset that Aspire were hoping on is gone, because that last round was shut down so sharply and so quickly by the side of MolotovGang. That site swap retake. Okay, well, it's attack side of map. We had a couple of rounds. Let's just get back into it. This is our side. That is gone right now, Aspire. They are down the barrel and they know it. So with half a minute already off the clock, they're going to start droning. They realize the stakes of what's on here now. Any mistakes will knock them out. They need to play a perfect game of Siege to get us not only all the way to overtime, but to unlimited overtime. And to get us from unlimited overtime, Delta, map B. And that is just to stay in this. Now, Zello has pushed in quickly and will be taken down by Vario, who's realized this. But Aspire have an answer in favor of Carol, who finds a second pick. Vario finding Shimizu as well. And Carol over in CEO, what was seeing players over towards that library, towards site. I'm worried that this is indicative of a bigger issue, Tom. We're not seeing as much coordination as before. Carol realizes they're going to break that summer and they need to watch the flank because they don't have a player advantage. It's all feeling so uncomfortable. The jump comes in from Suicide, though. Casper finds Goldies. If this was an opening they needed, if they were going to get, they need it now. They have IQ. Take a look at this. But they still have a long way to go. Half the round is ticked off the board so far. Carol in a much better position now to pinch over towards Piano. That blue stairs is going to make it even harder. Scripps will find Jest, and this is where what I want to see from Aspire. It's more methodical at this point with these 3 players. They're able to start locking things in. The swing down from blue comes through. Scripps, the knight in shining armor. 5 kills between Casper and Carol. This is 8 alone. And Carol's going to find Aina and bring us back and keep us on this port scoreline for the time being and keeping themselves in the map.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly the round they needed, isn't it? That is exactly the round they needed. Have, any real kind of hope going into that round, but they've kind of showed, they've gritted their teeth and they've pulled out a round where they're starting to win their ones, and maybe it's a little bit late, but you take that round, you start a Dare to Dream, okay? They won that round and they won it convincingly. It didn't go down to the wire, they just won really, really well. Now they need to do it again, and then they need to do it again, and then they need to do it again. Ad infinitum, all the way up to 8-6 if we can get so far. Should we be so lucky? 6-2, we're sitting now. MG Aspire picking up their first round and ending a 5-round win streak by MolotovGang. 6 kills coming in between Casper and Carol in that round there. Really starting to find their feet. Really strong work from them.
10 seconds.
A little bit worried because, again, we're seeing Aspire in the situation that they are on the attack. They were able to bring it back, but solely off the back of Scripps. That's a huge mental beast. You can't deny it. That is a really good for them because they say, right, we're back in the game. We kicked them, brought it back from the jaws of defeat. For me, though, it can't be off the back of Scripps every single time. Carol had 1 or 2 kills, But realistically, it came down to scripts. The aggression, the drive, just that rallying force for the attacking team. We need to see a little bit more from somebody else, like I said. Shimizu is the player I want to see step up, because we know that they can. They did on Skyscraper. I don't know if we're going to see it just now, and that's what this round proved, because like you say, if we are going to see Aspire taking us to overtime, they are going to have to earn it, and if they get there, they will have. Droning will come through the Flores drones at a familiar sound, as we are again on this top floor site with the players down below, just in case to deal with the verticality players. There's a buck on the board, trying to clear out this utility, take away those switch drones to the Flores ones. But right now, trying to find that player who's maybe sat over towards that Dark side.
Yeah, Molotov happy to sit back. They're not being quite as aggressive as they have been previously. Seeing the Takebi, seeing the Intel game getting played there, that Aspire haven't been too strong on so far. Hopefully the Takebi, that's going to enable, that's one of the operators that really enables breaches and also protects your rears by preventing these flankers from getting to you quietly and quickly. So, a lot of things going well for Aspire, including that. Carol stepping up, starting to find their feet with the gunplay and picking up the first pick of the round, with Shimizu following up with one of their own.
Yes, and the refrag will come through as Zelo's able to find Varizo, but like you say, the attackers, they are in a good spot now. 2 versus 4, the plant's going down. It's all down to Hassie and Jess, but now it's all down to Jess as Casper's there with an answer. That F2, look for that kill. Going up against the Frost, you definitely back the Twitch to take it, and they will. Casper's going to push us through, and Aspire, where were you? Where was this before? Because this is a night and day performance.
Yeah, and I think, do correct me if I'm wrong, that's the first time that Aspire have taken 2 rounds on the trot in the whole series. So
Yep.
that is, they're already playing better than they have done consistently for the whole series so far. Is this the start? Do we dare to dream? Is this start the beginning of a Cinderella story, a rags to riches style endeavor? Aspire, they take us to 6-3, and that's so exciting for me. They picked up the first pick, they were coordinated, they almost got a plant down. We've not seen that so far this game, and as you say, biggest word on my notes, four words, where has this been?
Exactly, because I gotta think about the future here, Delta, because this is just elimination. This is not even the grand finals, because we still have a week before we get there, at least. We're gonna need to see this from Aspire if they're gonna move forward in this competition. We're gonna need to see this a lot sooner from them. But for the case in the situation we're in right now, this is the time to step up. It must just be the point of they're on match point. That's kind of knocked it into their head that they need to step things up. They need to show that they deserve to be here. And I feel like that's what we're going to see. This is where they're going to get rejuvenated a bit.
At this point, tell me, do you lean into the excitement? Or do you try and stay calm? Do you try and just play the game? Or do you try and build off the back of that hype? What do you do in this situation?
It's a mixture. If you are Aspire right now, you're taking that confidence. You're feeling that the mood must have been bad before. So now you look at it and you use this as an opportunity to bring it back. Right, guys, we're playing well. We're getting kills. At this situation, they need to make sure that they get that confidence back. They get that aggression, but they don't overdo it. They can't be swinging things that they don't need to swing just because they feel like they might win a gunfight, because they still need to realize the gravity of the situation that they're in. Right now, I feel like they've done a really good job of that so far. As an attacking team, I want to see this continue. As a comp team, the mentality is so important, which is the only reason you keep coming back to it, Delta. Because it can be that make or break element. And right now, Goldies is going to be breaking their face as they fall onto the floor, taken down by Scripps. Very comfortably, very comfortable hot drone work as well. Now from the attackers. Last second, going to save the head of Hassie there.
Yeah, I mean, this is night and day to what we've seen previously, isn't it? We're seeing them drone really effectively. We're seeing... Oh, that is a naughty shot. That is illegal. Stop that right now. Just putting Casper's round to bed. Carol, they'll get the trade. They'll pull it back. They'll get the refrag. But that was... If I was to use a word, really, that was dirty.
That was filth. Absolutely filthy, what we just saw
No.
there. And Hassie's going to be able to find another one, taking down Scripps, that driving force. And this might just be the caster's curse, Delta. Well, we say they need to make sure that they don't over-aggress, they don't peek things they don't need to. Zello will try and bring things back and get that scoreline a little bit closer in terms of player count, but it isn't what they need just yet. The drop comes out from Verio. They will find that pick. That Goyo's going to have that long line of sight to work from. As Aina will also rotate over towards west side. They know that player's nearby, but if they both focus on west, who's looking at dining? That yellow pin comes in. That means Aina's going to rotate around. And with 40 seconds left on the clock, if they can split these attackers like this and keep that, this can go so much in their favor. The attackers going onto that top floor. Zello can have a really good opportunity here to catch one of these players off guard, but the ping's already come through. He's like, Aina with the C4 in pocket is going to look for that to get the kill. Isn't going to find it. 20 seconds tick down. Carol's going to get knocked off. It's all down to Zello in the 1 versus 2. They don't have the case or site control with 15 seconds left. They've got to push through the Goyo. They've got to push through the doubt, the pain, and the dreamers. And as they get stuck on that rotation, time ticks down. The crossfire is waiting. And Verio's going to close things down and knocks out Team Aspire for Season 9 of ESA.
And that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote. We needed Aspire to respond, we really did, and it looked like that was going to be another round coming towards them. I think there's one absolutely critical moment in that round. It happened around Library. Can you tell me what it was?
I have a very slight inkling, Delta, but I think as an overall kind of approach to the game, I feel like this is where... Let's just watch it, man. I getting away with that, but then also being able to find that second kill over towards this side of the Library. It's so painful, Delta, as a former player to watch, because you know that player's cursed themselves, because they're doing the thing that feels right. They're watching the cameras, they're contributing, there's the flying cameras in play, and they're just picked off. It felt so good. It felt like Aspire had really found their footing and at the perfect time to do so. But eventually, like you say, we had to play perfect siege every round. That was a big ask, and unfortunately, it was a little bit too much to ask of the team of Aspire at the moment. But there are good things to take away from that, and Chalet, just maybe give it a breather before we go there again. Make sure we take the time to learn what we should have learned. So it's micro positioning, how we deal with these mental blocks when we hit them, and most importantly for me, Delta, it's just getting how we can counter early aggression, because that's something MolotovGang brought forward very well.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, there was the early aggression, there was the opening picks, but then it was also the changes in pace. You know, it was never, apart from round one of map one back over on Skyscraper, it was never, we're going to go rush the target. It was never, we get a pick and it's go time. It was, we're going to get our first pick, but we're not going to let that, you know, drive how we attack the round. Now, yes, first pick did decide the round, and I think about 85% of the rounds that we played today, somewhat like that. But it wasn't quite at that clear cut for how they approached the rounds. They would get their first pick, but they wouldn't let that impact their droning game. They wouldn't let that impact what breaches they wanted to hit. They didn't get overly excited. They let be a part of how they played. They knew they had the numerical advantage, so they would lean into that. And you know, it was really impressive, I think, coming out from MVG. I think as we saw it happen in real time, what we saw was the culmination of MVG picking Chalet because they've seen just how it gets played by Aspire with what happened last week. And I think that's maybe unfortunate for Aspire. Maybe a strategic misplay in letting it get picked.
Yes, and now what you can see at the moment is that updated bracket. So, as we're in the last round of eliminations at the moment, you can see that it looks like MolotovGang, they are going to join the likes of Entropy in that qualified bracket, only just. So when it comes to seeding in the playoffs, they're going to be towards that bottom area alongside Entropy and the winner of Team Asgard versus Minions. That's what I'm actually really looking forward to. Aspire, they are going to join Crown Zero, E-Wave 141, and they are going to be the teams that are going to be knocked out. But let's look at the future. Let's look at the good things, because we still have a week and a couple of days of play days to go. And if you enjoyed the elimination games, Delta, you're going to love this one. MG Minions, look at that face. If that does not inspire fear for you, I don't know what will.
And then there's Asgard. But yeah, I mean, that's gonna be the last map. Sorry, the last game of this half of the this stage of the tournament. That's going to be a corker. You're going to have to tune in for that one, I think, because you could again, it's the last chance siege. It's elimination knockout siege, and that's when siege is at its best. You see diamonds getting forged under pressure, and people crumble. And unfortunately, today that was Aspire.
Yeah, and that is the way that the cookie crumbles sometimes, Delta, but that is going to be it for us today. So as we say goodbye to Aspire and congratulations to MolotovGang, there's only a couple of things to do. So I want to say thank you for joining me here, Delta. Thank you for Nanos and Ogun for making the production and observing respectively look so amazing and bring the high quality of stream that you expect from ESA. And also, again, I want to say thank you and to a huge shout out to anyone who's helped out Glitter at the moment. If anyone's interested, there is that command in chat that you can take a look at right now. We will be posting it. If you could do anything at all, whether it be financial or non-financial, just to support them, even if it's a message saying, hey, I hope things go well, please do. They've been a cornerstone of ESA since as time began, and we really want to say thank you to them in a time when they really need it the most. So thank you guys for watching. If you can help out, please do. We'll see you tomorrow.